What is going on, FA Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman, along with Ryan Hallam, and it's another episode of Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk here on fantasyalarm.com. We don't have just one, but two Monday Night Football games to preview, and one of those games features a team that Hallam fancies himself a fan of despite all the injuries. Mr. Hallam, though, first things first, how the heck are you? And you're ready to preview a game? We got a game in less than 2 hours, my man.
That's right, and not only that, man, this is the game before the fantasy playoffs, so, a lot of people are probably sweating right now as Sunday may or may not have gone their way, and a lot is probably riding on these last 3 games of the week, so crucial games, and it should be at least some interesting ones tonight.
Well, let's not wait any further then, because we're going to not only preview these games from the NFL and fantasy perspective, we're going to go over some props. Ryan's going to tell you about Thrive Fantasy and how you still have an opportunity to win. Your season's never over when you ride with the family. Let's start by talking about the undefeated Steelers taking on the Washington football team, who have looked good the last few weeks, but now have a big-time opponent in the Steelers. And looking at this game overall, right now, the total I saw as of late, 43.5. The Steelers favored by 6.5 points. So overall, Ryan, when you think of this game, are you expecting a lot of Pittsburgh offense against Washington?
I don't know a lot. I think the number 43.5 is definitely doable. I would definitely take the over in that one. The Steelers have just been passing and passing and passing, despite how much of a lead they might have. They really kind of abandoned the run to an extent. I'm going to take – they're both coming really from different avenues for this game. As Washington hasn't played since Thanksgiving, and the Steelers played – Tuesday? So, one team is coming off a lot of rest while another team is playing on a pretty short week, thanks to Baltimore and their COVID outbreak. So I don't know if that's going to come into play. I still do think, as good as Washington's defense is, I still think the Steelers should be able to get into the mid to high 20s in points. Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. It's just so much for defenses to handle. And, the football team have a couple good corners, but I don't know if they have enough to hold down all three. Throwing Benny Snell at running back, Eric Ebron at tight end. And it's just so much coming at you when you play the Steelers that I think 43.5 it should be something they could do. And on the, Washington side, Pittsburgh's defense is very good. Alex Smith is clearly not a great fantasy quarterback, but solid enough. Antonio Gibson has really been hot. We'll see what happens with him today against a really strong defense, but I still think there's going to be enough points to get us close to 50. I'm surprised the over-under total, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, with this, and I think it's because of the craziness that the Steelers especially have had to deal with. Also with their run game, too, it's very interesting, the whole James Conner angle in all of this, where he could be activated but not expected to play. It's, again, this goes back to, can we make a darn decision on these players already? Please, enough keeping us on our toes. We had to deal with that last night with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not so fun. But sticking with this game, though, with what we've seen from the Washington run game, it just seems like at this point, Antonio Gibson is the guy. He's not even the beneficiary. He's the guy. With J.D. McKissick, now all of a sudden, he was Mr. Double-digit targets there for a few weeks. Now, you can't deem him trustworthy, Ryan.
No, and I do think that this is a chance for McKissick to bounce back, because Washington, like you said, has been looking pretty good the last couple of weeks. So when they've been ahead, they haven't had to really do the checkdowns to McKissick. They've been just handing it to Gibson, and he's been getting more targets as well. I think in this game, if they're behind, we might see a few more of those passes to McKissick. So I'm anticipating a slightly better game from him today. Not necessarily, like you said, not those 15, 16 target games. I think those are long gone. But if he's, him in the 7 or 8 target range and ended up with 4 or 5 catches today, that wouldn't surprise me. I think he's going to be more involved than he has been the past couple of weeks.
What about Terry McLaurin? I know that he is not 100%, but when it comes down to it, it's just one of those things where when it comes to looking at him and seeing him, I just don't know what to expect from him. I mean, do you think Pittsburgh will be able to take him out? I mean, I know he's been a little bit banged up.
McLaurin is one of the guys, he gets the 2 Hallam thumbs up pretty much every week of the year. There's just no one else in the – like, who are they going to throw to? Isaiah Wright, Cam Sims, Steven Sims, Logan – like, stop me when I say someone that you think, Alex Smith might throw to with some regularity. So it's just the volume just is always there for McLaurin, and the guy has proven almost every week. I think Jalen Ramsey is really the only guy who shut him down for an entire game. I know he's banged up. I know the Steelers have a couple of good corners. Joe Hayden is very good. I just can't see them shutting him down. I think he's going to have a pretty good game, and he's going to be one of the props I talk about when we get there.
Yes, we're just about there. I mean, overall, you think that Washington, I mean, when you're looking at the spread of this game, what are you seeing? Because I'm not going to be betting this game for the most part. I just don't know how to feel with the Steelers overall, and I feel like I'm going to be leaning towards, especially with things like props. There are a few other ones in the other game that we're going to talk about. So when it comes down to the spread, are you going to be having any action on this game at all?
I wouldn't say so, but if I was to, I would take the Steelers and lay the points. I think it's 6.5, right? Yeah. I know they're due to lose. They're clearly not going to go undefeated. I know they played on Tuesday, but was that even really a game? I mean, it just seemed like everyone was just trying to get off the field as soon as humanly possible, and they struggled offensively against Baltimore, but they still pulled it out. Like I said, I think Washington's defense is good. We'll see if they can get pressure on Roethlisberger, because I think that will be the key. If they can get in his face and make him uncomfortable, that will be Washington's key to staying in this game. But I still think the Steelers just have too much offense for Washington to hold it, and I can see them winning by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Eric Ebron is going to do in this game as well. Because, again, we go back to this tight end position, and we talk about players you can and cannot trust. And there's a very short list of these tight ends that you could trust on a week-in, week-out basis. So, once again, I mean, the thing with Eric Ebron, he's going to get some of those red zone targets, which I really like. And that's why I'm glad, Ryan, that I've held on to him. Because if you really don't own Kelsey or Darren Waller at this point, it has been a very tough season with the tight end. I've replaced mine on my teams 1,000 times, it feels like, at this point.
Yeah, Hawkinson would probably be the third, and then after that, it's really just a crapshoot every week. I mean, we're looking at like Noah Fant. He's got 55 yards one week and 12 yards the next, and Jared Cook has really been taken out with Drew Brees out. It's just Hunter Henry has been incredibly inconsistent. You're right. It's been really, really tough for tight ends if you didn't get one of those top two, especially with Kittle missing almost the entire season.
Ryan, you've been promoting the props at Thrive, so you've been playing on there a little bit. So why don't you tell everyone how they can get involved at Thrive Fantasy? Because, again, this is a time where people were just eliminated potentially from their fantasy football seasons, and the season doesn't have to end, and that's where props are a lot of fun. I always debate whether I like props or DFS better, because I'm loving props, really going into them over the last couple of years. So what's going on at Thrive?
Yeah, go to fantasyalarm.com/ThriveFantasy. I'm sorry, just Thrive. Sign up there with promo code ALARM. You get a deposit match up to $250. So they're just begging you to come on board and give it a try. And they usually have usually 10 props per team. But since there's the 2-game slate today, there's 5 per team, and they weight them a little bit, so based on whether you think that they'll take them. So on ones that seem a little easier, they incentivize you and give you a few more points to try to go against the grain. And some of the ones are also pretty much even, where you get the same number of points. So you pick 10 props, you get points based on how difficult they are, and then payouts come as far as how many people enter the contest and all that.
So let's talk about a couple of the props right now that we can go in on, because from the Washington side of it, I mean, with Antonio Gibson, we've seen some of the other running backs be able to run on the Steelers. We saw J.K. Dobbins be able to run on him. What do you think about 50.5 rushing yards here? Because, again, you take the over, you get the 110, whereas you take the under, you get the 90. That's one, when I'm looking at all of these props, that's the one I feel most comfortable with. You can tell me if I'm an idiot. It's okay.
Well, I'll call you that for other reasons, but not for this one. Gibbs, he's just been so hot, it's really hard to pick against him, and 50 is not really a big number. He breaks through the line for a 15, 20-yard run. You're almost there in one shot. He's been very explosive, very exciting young player. Steelers' run defense, started out really well, but like you said, it's been a little bit leakier of late. I think that one for Gibson is pretty good.
Other ones that we can look at for maybe the Steelers side that I like, and then you could tell me what you like overall in this game. Man, Deontay Johnson, just a target monster. There's always the risk with him, though. And again, you can't this is a situation where you can't really go based off this, but we have seen him get taken out of parts of games because of injury. However, when he's on the field, he gets all those targets. 6.5, because you know me, Ryan, I'm all about the reception props. Mm-hmm. When it comes to 4.5 and 5.5, I'm always comfortable. 6.5, even with someone who's highly targeted like Deontay Johnson, I just feel like, again, because you described all the pieces in this offense for Pittsburgh, is 6.5 chasing too much, would you say?
It's very close, but I'm still taking the over on that one. Like you said, it's like 12 targets is his floor. And you are right. Also, there was bits and pieces of games where he was taken out. It's been probably 3 or 4 weeks since that's happened. Seems healthy. I'm not going to knock on wood. I know you hate that. But he's just so good. And again, Tuesday's game was kind of a disaster from top to bottom. So I'm not really looking at those stats whatsoever. I think 6.5 is close. Obviously, they don't want to make it too easy for you, or you're going to pick one side or the other. I'm going over on that one when I make my final picks after we're done.
Yeah, especially with the 115 there. Any other ones that we should spotlight before we move on to the 49ers-Bills game?
I was talking about Terry McLaurin at 78.5 yards. I'm going to take the over there. There's just no one else to throw the ball to. If Smith can get close to 200 yards, I can't believe McLaurin's not going to get 80 of it. Logan Thomas at 2.5 catches. Now, that's a really low number. And we know Pittsburgh is very tough against the tight end. If they're not the top defense against the tight end, they're top 3. And you can go to fantasyalarm.com tools where you can see what each team, fantasy points, what they allow versus each position. I know Pittsburgh's very high on that list. But 2.5 is really low. I looked. It's like been 5 of the last 6 weeks he's had 3 catches or more. I think that one's attainable too, and I'm not sure the point total on that. I know you have that in front of you, but I think that Logan Thomas one is pretty decent as well.
Yeah, the point total, if you bet the over on that one, 80 points. If you bet the under, 120. They want you to take the over.
They want you to take the over.
That's the thing.
Chase Claypool's half a touchdown. He is the big play touchdown guy. You got to figure, if Ben throws 1 touchdown. I know there's a lot of weapons out there, but man, he seems to get a lot of them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he is targeted in the red zone. It's just with something like this, I just don't want to chase. That's the thing. They have so many options on that team. I'd almost feel better if there was an injury when it comes to this receiving core. But like you just said, he could still come through. And that's the thing. I'm just trying to figure out how to be strategic about the props I pick. What about this one very quickly? Ben Roethlisberger, 25.5 completions. I mean, he's been throwing and throwing and throwing. And with Washington, if they're not going to, if the Steelers aren't going to run it, do you think that he can hit 26?
I think he definitely can. Those completion props I generally stay away from. I think it's kind of a roller coaster kind of a thing. So I usually don't pick them. 26, he's going to have to throw the ball 40 times probably to get to 26 unless he's extremely efficient today. I'd probably grab the under on that one.
Before we get to the next game, we just want to tell you about a great deal that we have on the site, our lifetime membership, fantasyalarm.com/lifetime. Everybody likes a good deal. Some of you took advantage of our Black Friday special, which became our Cyber Week deal. Now, to become a lifetime member forever, $2.99, everything, all of our products forever, Ryan Hallam. What are you shaking your head at me? Am I not allowed to be with you forever here?
No, we're just giving stuff away. $300 forever is man, that's a deal. It's definitely something everyone should get on. You'll win that back in 6 months, easy.
Yeah, we've been on fire when it comes to that DFS, I'll tell you that much, especially showdown slates too. And we'll get to a few because in a DraftKings showdown, Ryan and I have been putting together a little lineup, so we'll talk about that. But first, Ryan, we gotta, please, I know you don't want to do this, but we have to. I don't want the boss to yell at me. I know that you don't like talking about the 49ers. So we got to still talk about the 49ers. I know you got your little mask on right there. So is your mask going to give you the knowledge that's going to give us what props we can trust for this game? Bills 49ers, a 47.5 total with the 49ers favored by 1.5. How are you feeling about your Niners going up against the Bills?
Not good. I think they've really struggled with mobile quarterbacks, and obviously Josh Allen is one of the best of those. So you see Kyler Murray had done them dirty multiple times in the past couple of years. So not feeling so good about it, but I think there's a lot of excitement, especially for fantasy, involved in the game.
I mean, looking at the Buffalo side of it, I mean, from what you've seen from guys like Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, where's your trust level with them right now? Because I feel like with Singletary coming off the game he had, people are going to they're desperate to put some trust, but it's so hard still for me to trust either back. What do you think?
I've been all on Moss for weeks, and then last week with the Singletary having the pretty decent game, it really just kind of undid all of the love I've been having for Moss. First of all, they're not running a lot. They're not running towards the goal line. Neither of them are scoring touchdowns. So when they cannibalize each other, it really hurts their fantasy value when they're not really scoring. And Moss isn't all that involved in the pass game as much as I'd like. But honestly, I think he's the better back. So that's the thing. I think Singletary gets a little more for PPR leagues, but then Moss, gets most of the carries. So they're almost both kind of useless at the moment.
How do you feel about Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs going into this one? That's going to be a make or break for a lot of seasons right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's in my fishbowl league as well. I have both of them, so we'll see if I can advance. But Richard Sherman is back. The 49ers defense has been playing a little bit better, clamped down on the Rams last week. So there's certainly some risk. But again, I think Allen is going to make some things happen with his legs, which is going to open up some things for him throwing the ball. And I feel pretty good about both players. I'd say Allen will end up with 280 total yards. I still think Diggs will be over 80 receiving.
Ooh.
I think
that's a prop on Thrive right there.
There you go. I think Buffalo's going to score. I think there's going to be a decent amount of scoring in this game. I think they're both, have a shot at mid-20s, high 20s in this one.
I see that Thrive has a prop regarding Cole Beasley and receptions, 3.5. Now, this is where recency bias, you have to kind of let it fade away because I bet this prop a week ago at 4.5, and I got it wrong, unfortunately. So now going into this matchup, because look, for Thrive, they want you to take the under because you get 130 points if it is fewer than 4 receptions. 70 points on the over, though. How you feeling about Beasley?
That's really asking you to take the under. That's one of the bigger spreads I've seen in the weeks that I've been playing on that site. The 49ers have good corners. Like I said, Sherman, Jason Barrett has played knockout football all year long. Manuel Mosley was better last year than he is this year. But they have 3 really good corners. But with John Brown still out, I can't believe Beasley can't get 4 catches in this one.
Yeah,
Gabriel Davis is kind of a big play guy. I got to figure they pepper Beasley enough for him to get 4 catches.
I got to say this, though, going back to a week ago now at this time, John Impemba was on Davis the last time he was out there, too. Minimum salary guy. I just had to say with John Impemba right there, our managing editor of FantasyAlarm.com, that was one of the best calls of the year. I'm just going to say that right now, and even hearing it, remembering it, and seeing it, just that's what happens. That's a good call, Johnny Imp. I'll tell you that.
That's what you get with the lifetime special.
That's what you get, man. You get access to our staff, our chats as well. We're very interactive with our family. It's not just called a family for the sake of it. It's a family because we are family. And like I always say, Hallam, family that sticks together wins together. Let's talk about the Niners offense now, because there are a couple of props that I see here that I like very, very much. One of them being Deebo Samuel, 4.5 receptions. I mean, they want you to take the under again because they're offering $1.15 when it comes to points. But how don't you take the over on 4.5 after seeing double-digit targets?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm smashing the over. That was.
And no, I don't care that Ayuk is back. Both of them have a chance to feast.
Absolutely. And you know what the 49ers do is throw a lot of just short passes behind the line of scrimmage, these things that look like jet sweeps, bubble screens. Like, they just find ways to get these guys the ball. I think Samuel should have 5 catches by halftime. That one was one of the easiest ones, and definitely one I had marked down for this too.
How are you feeling about Mostert and the run game?
He's the other one. I had 50.5 rushing yards. I mean, dude is fast. He breaks big runs. He could get that in just a few. Buffalo is not the toughest run defense. They're not the easiest either. I think he's going to get the majority of the carries tonight, they're tonight. And I think 50.5 is certainly an over for me there.
I mean, I like a lot of these. I like Ayuk as well. And I know with Ayuk, I mean, the COVID list on and off as he's been, so conditioning is a little bit of a question. But here's the problem. When playing on a site like Thrive or something that offers this point system, if you keep taking the ones that are going to get you 85, does it force you to want to just go in on certain props on the other side of it just for the point total, even though you don't necessarily believe in it?
I haven't played that way. I've picked ones that I've always felt pretty good on, and I've had mild success so far. I'm not playing for any big money on there until I get a little more comfortable on the site. But there's usually 10 that I feel pretty good about that I don't have to go chasing points. I've done it a couple times. I did it once or twice yesterday. I chased the points, but so far right now, it seems silly to me. It seems like more often than not, I'm going with my gut, and it seems to be a lot of those are the 100-100 splits or the 105-95 splits. So yeah, I mean, if it's the 75-125 split, yeah, I can't pick 10 of those, but there's only usually one or two of those per game. So I just go with what I think.
What do you feel better about, Ayuk or Mullins hitting their prop? Mullins being 248.5 passing yards. That's your 100-100 split right there. Or Ayuk hitting 55.5 receiving yards on the over.
I like Ayuk. I don't know. Mullins, I think it'll probably be pretty close to that, but I won't be surprised if it's under. You got Tre'Davious White and Levi Wallace, and obviously you can't, like the corners and just love the wide receivers that they're going to be covering. But again, I think that Shanahan finds ways to get these guys with ball in their hands with space. 55, it seems pretty attainable, especially if you look at Ayuk before he started with the COVID list on and off and on and off. He was consistently over that. So I think I would feel much better about him.
Looking at that total, 47.5, and this is based off a feel I have on like the other game. With this game, I feel like it has a shot at going over, man. I mean, look, the Bills, maybe not the best defense they can contain, but they can also score points as well. And I feel like the Niners will be able to get a score or two in this as well. So relying on the Bills offense a little bit more. What do you think about the over here? Because I'm thinking of hitting that if I'm looking at both of these matchups and the current spreads and totals.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a decently scoring game. I think that they could easily go. There's 24 points apiece. I think we're going to be over that tonight.
I like that very much, Hallam. I like it very much. Got to place that bet in. There is still time. Again, the first game, you've got 2 Monday Night Football games. First one starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. The next one, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. So, hey, who complains about more football? These weeks are getting stretched and stretched and stretched. Some of the other things we'll talk about very quickly regarding, let's actually give a few DFS plays because we're working on a lineup here for DraftKings with these 2 games. And in regards to who a must play would be from these 2 games, who are you on?
To me, the quarterback, I think, has to be Josh Allen. Like I said, I think Mullins makes too many mistakes. I don't think Smith throws enough passes. So it's got to be one of the either Allen or Roethlisberger. I'm going Allen. I think the Washington defense is a little bit better than the San Francisco defense. So I feel pretty good with Allen there.
So,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was going to say, are you going to hook him up with Diggs, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm trying to hook him up with Diggs. Deontay Johnson, I think, is reasonably priced. Deebo Samuel's another guy I can work in. And then, you got to go a little bit farther down. But, I think there's a spot in here to get a nice little team. Cole Beasley's 4,900. I think he can work him into a lineup. I think there's a lot. There's a lot to like today. I was surprised with who I was able to work into a lineup.
I mean, what about from the running back standpoint here? Because I've been kind of based off what you just said, and I put in a few other players too. How can you attack the running back situation, maybe save a little bit of money?
Benny Snell, who's going to be starting for Pittsburgh. I think he's a pretty good start, 5,400. You can still work. Antonio Gibson at 65 is not, terrible to work in. And, they have Washington as the lowest defense at 2,500. They're a pretty decent defense. They can get you some sacks. They could pick off Roethlisberger, so I don't think they're a terrible start. Jordan Reed at tight end is super cheap at 3,200. Buffalo has not been good against the tight end this year, so I think Reed helps you save some money there. I know he didn't do very much last week against the Rams, but Buffalo has certainly been beatable with the tight end this year too. I
mean, you like him better than Logan Thomas, who's actually $100 cheaper.
I do. I think Thomas is usable, but I think Reed has a much higher upside. I don't think Thomas is going to get you 85 yards and 2 touchdowns, where, of course, I'd be surprised if Reed did that. But, before his big ankle injury, he was putting up some pretty decent numbers with Kittle out. So I think that Reed's got, for the extra $100, I think it's worth the production.
I mean, dude, this lineup looks pretty balanced. I mean, you were able to put Gibson in there, Johnson, who's a target monster. We got Allen and Diggs in there, which I think is most crucial. We were able to save up on tight end and on the flex as well. So in a way, we mini stacked there too, with Beasley getting him in there, hedging a little bit. And then the Washington football team on defense, I mean, you've seen what they're able to do. I mean, they don't need a lot to hit value at 2,500. I like this, man. I want to play this tonight.
Wasn't that bad? Well, just hit it.
I think I am gonna hit it. That's good right there. Again, for those that missed the rest of it, Josh Allen, Benny Snell, Antonio Gibson, Deebo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Stefan Diggs, Jordan Reed, Cole Beasley, and the Washington football team. Gets you a little bit of exposure of everything. I like that. And I love the Deebo Samuel call too. In 6,000. I mean, again, I think people might shy away because of the Ayuk factor, but I don't think that's going to stop him from getting about 7 to 9 targets in this matchup.
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to get the advantage, it's going to be Samuel. Yeah, is he going to get 15 targets like last week, or I think it was close to that? No, he might not. But he's they don't throw. He's not going to throw it 30 yards down the field to Deebo Samuel. That's not the offense that he runs. That's not his skill set. If he gets 9 targets, he's probably going to have 7 catches because it's 5 yards away and he breaks a tackle, or it's behind the line of scrimmage and they get 3 linemen out in front of him and block for him. And so it's he's very efficient with his targets.
Yeah, there you go. A little DraftKings, a little Thrive Fantasy. That's what we've got for you. Before we go, I got to ask you this, man. The Eagles, dude, what's going on with this offense? I mean, we're going to start getting these questions about benching Miles Sanders. And here's the problem. Fantasy players are going to look at other star running backs or studded running backs, someone like an Alvin Kamara who came through on the ground, especially. They're going to be like, you can't go by every system is different. And I don't know in this case if you can blame Miles Sanders, or is it that Doug Peterson is just not utilizing him properly? Who can you trust in regards to this Eagles offense at this point?
Well, I'm expecting the news at any moment, or maybe tomorrow, that Jalen Hurts is going to be starting quarterback. I think Wentz is going to probably be sat down for, and it's not Miles Sanders' fault at all. He's just, like you said, he's not being utilized. He's not being utilized correctly, but it's also because the Eagles are getting killed. So, I mean, how are they going to run enough when they're so far behind all the time? And just Wentz is just so bad. I'm glad they finally pulled him, take him out of his misery. Maybe let him clear his head for a week and come back. But you think Dallas Goedert is really the only guy you can trust right now. I know, Zach Ertz is back. He didn't do a lot yesterday. I'm sure he's being eased back in a little bit from his injury. But Jalen Reagor had 1 catch. Alshon Jeffrey had none. Travis Fulgham is not a thing anymore.
Oh, man, he's fallen off big time.
Yeah,
he went from scoring week after week to now since the bye, he's barely done anything. He's barely being targeted now. You think teams have just figured out this guy, or especially with Hurts in there? I feel bad if you're, again, and I say this in all seriousness, if you're a Fulgham owner at this point, you're not even getting him anywhere close to your lineups. I don't care what the matchup is. He's one of the most unsafe players you could potentially start in your flex right now.
Yeah, no, unless you have like a 10-person bench, he shouldn't be on your team anymore. It's a thing of the past. And like I said, Goddard, he had the most targets by a healthy margin yesterday. Still came through and he had 77 yards. And I think 5 or 6 catches. So that's it. Ertz will probably eat into him a little bit, but with literally no wide receiver that you can start with any confidence. And now Miles Sanders too. It's hard to sit a guy you probably drafted in the first round in week 14. But man, after the last few weeks, I don't know how you put him in.
Yeah, we need him to at least get double-digit carries and not have to worry about that. Maybe he could get 15 for once. Doug Peterson, man, killing us, Doug. You are killing us right now. Someone who doesn't kill us but helps us dominate is Ryan Hallam with me on Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. Give him a follow at Fighting Chance on Twitter. Also, his game previews every single week. Works very hard on them so that you can be one step ahead of your opponents. This is playoff time. This is playoff clinching time. It's crunch time. You can catch me on Alarm After Hours on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio with John and Pemba tonight, midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern, reacting to Monday Night Football. Hallam, it's been real. We thank Ed Bunnell. We always dominate. There isn't any other option. We just win.